The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Our gospel, a reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking this, "Where is this child who has been born King of the Jews? We observed his star and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together the chief priests and the scribes, Herod inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "The Messiah is to be born in Bethlehem, for so it has been written, and you, Bethlehem, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called the wise men and learned from them the time when the star appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may also go and pay him homage." This was obviously not true. He was threatened by the mention of a new king. He had a completely different agenda. But that's what he said to them, "Tell me where he is, so that I also may pay him homage." Well, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star again that they had seen, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. They entered the house, and they saw the child with Mary, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their chests, they offered the child gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. The Gospel of our Lord.
Praise to you, Lord.
I was having a little trouble with my microphone at the beginning, and it slipped my mind to greet and welcome in a special way those of you who are attending our liturgy from your living rooms and so on. We really do feel connected with you, and I hope you feel connected with us. Thank you for joining us in this manner. I know I've mentioned this before at least once, but when I was a pastor of a parish in Milwaukee, a woman came up to me, and we knew each other well. I had been there a long time, and she said, you have two kinds of sermons. Either they are very practical, how to live our Christian life, something concrete. They're very practical, or they're very spiritual. Silly me, I thought that being spiritual was being practical. But the practical are easier to listen to and to preach. It talks about our conduct. What she meant by more spiritual, it means trying to talk about God, how God is and who God is and so on, and that's harder for me and for you. I have to tell you, alas, that's what we're going to try to do today. Something about how God is and who God is. 3 stories. One of them is a story written hundreds of years before Jesus. Then a letter written shortly after the time of Jesus. And then the third one is contemporary. This will involve us. And it may even make you be slightly uncomfortable for a moment. Please understand why I have to do that, because otherwise we are sentenced to talk only about things that don't have anything to do with anything. Well, let's try. The first story, the book of Job. And it's a story. There really was no such a person. It was a story written to tell a lesson. And you know that we always think of the patient Job. Oh, the Lord has given and the Lord has taken away. That is a tiny, tiny bit of the He is mad at God because God let Satan had all of his animals die. Said, well, let's see how this Job, let's see what he's made of. And then all his children get sick and worse and sick. And he is very mad, and he wants to know why God is doing this. I don't deserve this. And even his friends approach him and say, whoa, slow down, Job. I mean, you're talking almost insulting to God. You know how this goes. You must have sinned because we believe that sin brings this into your life. And Job insists, you are no help. Go away. I need to talk to God. God has got to justify himself to me. And then near the end of the story, God approaches. And he said, Job, you come here. I want to talk to you. You with the mouth, you come here. And then he says, and now I'm in chapter 38, if you want to check it later. Job, tell me, who was it that laid the foundations of the earth? I can't remember. Was that you or was that me? And who put the stars in their place in the skies? Were you there helping me on that day? I don't remember seeing you. Who set the boundaries of the waters, the lakes, and the oceans? Who made and set? And he goes on and on and on. And of course, Job is starting to sweat. Who put the lightning there? And who takes care of the birds of the air? And God does everything but light his clothes on fire to say, who among us is wise and who of us is stupid? And then finally, now in chapter 42, Job is humbled and he said, you are the powerful one. I had empty-headed words, holding forth on things that I do not understand. And that's how the story ends. Now what I need for you to notice, God asserts that he knows what he's doing. But he does not answer Job's question. Why did you kill all my cows? He didn't get an answer. God said, I want to remind you that I am God, but I don't feel obligated to remove every mystery in your life. You're going to have to learn to live with some mysteries about who I am and how I am. I said story 2 was from the letter written shortly after Jesus was gone, well, maybe 50 years. It's the letter to the Ephesians. Because St. Paul had a problem, not as bad as Job's. But you know who St. Paul was. We're not going to go over all of that. This valiant missionary traveling all over the known world, bringing people to Jesus. And this is so unstartling to us, but it was terribly startling to them. Paul let Gentiles be baptized. The Jewish mindset was completely different. Jesus is the Messiah. This is a Jewish thing. He's here for us. He is the fulfillment of our scriptures. What are you doing? Why are you baptizing Babylonians and Egyptians and Romans and who knows what? And the letter to the Ephesians says this. Paul, whoever wrote it, the mystery was made known to me by revelation, that the Gentiles are co-heirs with the Jewish community. Jesus is Jesus for everyone. He is not our possession. And then he says, I don't understand it either. It's a mystery to me why God does it. But that is what God is doing. Just like God didn't give Job the explanation that he wanted. St. Paul can't give the critics the explanation they want. Why God is doing this. St. Paul said, relax, God is in charge, I don't understand it either. But it is God's plan We have to settle down a little bit and do a little bit more of trusting and a little less of understanding. A little bit more of trusting and a little bit less of understanding. That's why St. Matthew wrote the story of the three magi, or the three wise men, or whatever they are. They're coming from far away. Only Matthew tells the story. Matthew had to confront people who did not like that Paul was welcoming Gentiles. By the way, we're all Gentiles. Aren't we lucky? Thank you, Paul. And St. Matthew has these people come from who knows where. They're speaking a language who knows what. They even smell different. And they bring gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh in the story. And Matthew almost said, I don't remember any Jews bringing Jesus anything. The little drummer boy played his drum, I think of that. But God doesn't explain. God did not consult anybody when he decided that Jesus would be Redeemer of everyone. They had to be comfortable not understanding God's ways. And that's the second story. And now the third one is the contemporary one. And I said, it may get a little personal. I don't know the whole life story of each and every one of you, nor do you know mine. But we can relate to what I said about the first two stories. Why did God allow some things to happen to you that you never would have chosen and you really did not want in your life? Did you ever get an answer from God? No, you did not. What you or I have had to do is trust in God. Say, I really would love to know why I have to deal with this. It was never a part of my desire or plan, but it obviously is your plan for me or us. And you don't even tell me why. Would you at least give me the grace to trust in you more? That you know what's going on and you know the purpose of this, because I surely don't. And I have to carry it. We might think of this first of all about the pains in our life. I want to tell you that the same thing applies to the good things in our lives. You spent your whole life being healthy, and you know some people who are very sick. Why did you get this good luck? God didn't tell you that either. Or your marriage has been a happy one, and you know that not everyone's marriage is happy. Why did you luck out? God didn't tell you that either. See, it applies plus and minus. All of your kids grew up relatively healthy. You never thought that would happen when they were teenagers, but they did. And they're very successful, happy men and women. And you know families who have had, and they were just as good at parenting as you, but they've had nothing but bad luck with their kids. Why did all this good stuff happen to you? Or this bad stuff? So that's the value that I want to elevate for thinking about how God is and who God is vis-a-vis the Epiphany this year. We don't get to understand everything. There is much more that we don't get to understand than what we do get to understand. But we can get better and better at relaxing and trusting in God. This is all in God's hands. In whose hands would you rather have it? May I ask that? In whose hands would you rather have it? So, happy Epiphany, and that's now you know why I mentioned at the very start that one of my very favorite New Testament scripture verses is 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. Now you know the context. We walk by faith, not by sight. You do, I do, and we as a community. We walk by faith, not by sight.